my neighbours, good citizens all, I thank you for coming and heeding the call. Let's rally the people and bring them all near. Sing out our songs for the whole world to hear. This is the cradle of all that we are. This is the heart of the storm. This is the ground where the future was born. This here is Anvil and this is our home. Each song that we sing and each story we tell, each hero we name and each life that we sell, each breath and each beat of your heart is a beat of the drum. Give me drink in my cup and friends who will share it, song on my lips and ears that'll hear it, fire in my eyes to light all the good people I see. I tell you, my friends, there's nowhere that I'd rather be. Before 10 in the morning.
Hi everyone, thanks for coming. You'll notice a few changes here. The normal layout I would have has decided to play silly buggers, so I'm sort of resorting to this. So I don't know what my audio should be fine. Everything should be fine. So, but we're sort of like just in the single thing, so we're going to be a little bit smaller. But we're here, and we can do stuff. We can chat, and we can answer questions, and we'll talk about everything going on. Okay, so thanks everyone for coming along. Thanks for coming along, Gray. I really appreciate this, mate.
Hey, welcome.
Coffee in your bits. Thanks so much for that, mate. So, after all my technical issues have sort of like thrown me out, it's yeah. We have been playing. Well, we have known Beaumont, Mac. I actually found a wonderful picture of us. It's the one of us actually just pissing ourselves laughing together in a battle. Love that. I found that the other day, and I just thought I love that photo. I think that. Yeah, I think that would have probably been my second or third event as Mac. So, because obviously when my first guy, the General, getting executed and all that, it was wonderful. But we don't. I mean, I don't come and find you a lot in the field to harass you, and I probably should.
Hard to get. Or hard to pin down for long.
Well, to be honest, with what Mac and that's become, I don't think it would become an issue. I think regardless of where you went, if we wanted you, then we'd be there, generally sat on your lap or something. It's that sort of scenario you'd find. So, you have gone as Beaumont from strength to strength, really.
Yes.
Haven't you? Because
times it's been more difficult and challenging than others. Bad way. Still walking about all that kind of thing. So, yeah. Enjoyed playing and stuff.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's make things a little bit bigger. There we go. Because I think you've gone from who's very quiet. Someone's very. Am I quiet or is Gray quiet? You're very quiet. Right. I've turned you up full, Gray. So we're as I say, we're kind of making do at the moment. So that should have rectified that. So you've gone from. Because you were a general as well for a time, weren't you?
No, Field Marshal for Dawn.
Field Marshal.
Field Marshal twice for the whole. So I've never been a general. I've just been kind of adjacent. My house has thankfully over the years had a lot of characters that are very interested in the military game, and we've never wanted for good generals in Dawn. It's one of those positions where there's generally more good candidates than we have to look for. So it's been quite good in the sense that you always get an awful lot of people with an awful lot of engagement, an awful lot of knowledge and skills to bring to the table. So it's interesting to see it. But I've never wanted to try and stick my oar in, given we're already more than supplied with people who are good at it. So.
I say, you do shock me that you don't want to stick your oar in, because Bowman has always struck me as a sort of person who's like, oh, is that what you want to do? Have you considered this?
I think the role of a good politician, if you're doing it properly, is to try and steer things in the direction you want. But I've always kind of been a firm believer in that pattern comment of don't tell people what to do. Try and indicate what you'd like them to get done, and then leave them, because they'll do better by themselves than will if you're poking a problem at. I think the core skill for being a senator, when it comes to any job or position you're selecting, is to choose the right people and then help them, but don't get in their way.
Yeah.
I think it's good for you, good for them as a player, and also if you try to do too many things at once, or we put it back in Northern Ireland, try to kick with both feet, you end up in your life.
So how are you finding things in Dawn? I mean, so compared to like right at the beginning when Empire started and everything, and to now, how much has Dawn changed from your experiences?
At the first event, there were about 100 of us, and our first battle didn't go well for us at all. I think we lost 25 people or something like that. So I think we lost about a quarter of the people in Dawn total, of which that was probably a higher percentage of the people that actually went on the battlefield, because obviously there were some people that didn't fight.
Yeah.
Kind of caused a bit of eruption right at the start, and then everything was a while, because there are a lot of people who went into Dawn without been doing this job or that job or otherwise, to be honest. And then after the first battle, there was like a line drawn through the sound, and like we'd lost a senator in the battle, one general maybe two. I'm struggling to remember it that long ago, but we basically got trimmed down. So all told, for about a year after that, there were maybe 85, 90 people maybe playing in Dawn, which was quite small.
Yeah.
And we weren't the smallest human nation. We were certainly battling Urzen for it.
Yeah.
It was one where if event by event probably swapped who was the smallest. And then over the kind of 3 years after that, we started building, growing up, getting involved, and the houses started spreading out. There were more houses, then there were more people in the houses, etc. I think Dawn now is probably one of the bigger nations behind Wintermark. I think we're maybe third, something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
I think we're maybe close to 300, close to 250, something like that, in that kind of margin. I'd need to speak with Matt P, or he'd need to tell people to tell the exact number, but it looks like we're probably about 3 times the size we were when we started.
Yeah. Matt P seems to have a bit of a love for Dawn, because I did this sort of chat with him, it was a week ago, and my God, he loves Dawn. He really loves Dawn. I wasn't expecting it, but it's I think it seems like people have a bit of an issue with lag here. I'm not too sure what's happening with that, but it might be an issue with Twitch. So, but yeah, Matt really loves the whole idea of Dawn and everything. And when he takes himself off for his own little like a personal LARP that he loves to go off and do on his with a couple of people and stuff, and doing the whole nights and all of that sort of stuff seems to be a bit of a passion for him. So it was quite interesting.
I think very much Dawn is one of those ones where, to me, it's almost the essence of LARPing is your heart's worn in your sleeve. You don't hide your emotions or how you feel about things at all. So everything's out there. It is very much what you play, and the whole of the world gets to see what you think. So there's that element which is quite performative. The costume's beautiful, the styles are beautiful, and at a glance, you should be able to tell someone who's Danish, like more so than many of the other cultures, because the colours are so vibrant and so rich in your face, and there's so much going on. And that isn't to say it's about OC money spent. It's about being able for someone at a glance to look over and see you and tell what you are. It's very much that kind of display. Like one of the coolest costumes I ever saw, someone was playing a Knight of Ruin. One of the guys, I think a beggar knight, and his armour was all rusted. He was wearing a surcoat made out of sackcloth. The armour was banged. It was otherwise. You could tell that he was effectively doing that Lancelot who'd been in the wilderness for years during the battle. And that show, like another one I've seen that's really beautifully been done, was a Green Knight, which was all leathers, all with vines and briars wrapped all into it. So it wasn't really about huge amounts of money spent or otherwise. It was about making sure that your concept could be seen very, very quickly and anyone could embrace it and get it. Because as soon as they're reacting to you as the concept of what you're trying to embody as Dawn, then you're 50% of the way there. And you'll stick, and that's what it's all about. Because the Dawn ethos is great deeds are eternal, and that very much ties into the idea of your story, how you tell it, but also how it reflects to other people and how they pick it up.
Yeah, I think Dawn is one of those nations. It's like for an anonymous cheerer. Thank you very much. Dawn is one of those nations where I like going into Dawn. I like going to Wise Guys, and I like hovering around the glory hole, and it's just one of those places that I like to go into, especially when I'm on Twilight, and you do the whole just play around a bit. And I love to listen to people, and I love to hear their stories, because there's nothing better than, I think I got kicked out of one house in Dawn because the Lord was in there, and he was happily telling me the story of how great he was in battle and all of this sort of stuff. And then one of the little yo folk said, "Oh, I've done this and this in battle," and I was more interested in what the little yo folk said, and he got really offended by that, so he threw me out of the house. That was awesome. That was really, really nice role play. I really enjoyed it, being like chased out of Dawn. It was really good fun. And I do encourage everyone, if you're going to do that sort of thing, then just make sure you can move faster than the people chasing you. That's all, because we got to the edge of Dawn and then they stopped, and that. But it's
one of the things you're touching on there is an essential truism of Dawn. All of the houses have their own distinct character, their own almost character traits. Like if you were designing Dawn as a nation or as like a campaign you would do for a game, you design the houses first of all, and then you choose the characters to fit into them. Like every own shtick, and the characters come and they go, but ideally the house goes on long after the characters have gone, because it's like an image, and therefore people in that house aspire to be that kind of ideal that it sets up. And it's a good thing in many ways to my mind, because what it does is it holds you to task. So you're like, oh, I can't be arsed, I'm knackered, I'm run down, I'm tired, I've been running around the whole battle, I want a drink and a sit down in the shade and a pint, and then you see some other house.
Yeah.
Get to the monster and you pick your feet up and you go faster, because that's the kind of legacy of what you built in. So it's quite good. It's very much in the same way I think as works as the Girdings, which is kind of Dawnish hearth magic, or works with the mountains. They're another way of geeing you up to do just that little bit more, which is something a bit more impressive. Which LARP never.
I've been asked to see if you're able to turn yourself up a little bit more in your audio settings.
Whether I can probably speak up a bit, but I'm not sure if I can turn myself up much. I shall put it with the mic and see if that helps any.
I'll be waiting on chat to see to see if that's any better. We had in the Discord that we have because we've got a few new players who are coming into Dawn. So we've got Ben Wagner, who's his kit is amazing, and everything he's wanting to do for Dawn is he is so on point. It's unbelievable. But there's an entire new house coming in.
There's several. I had 3 at my last count, but I'm not 100% certain it's just 3.
Well, it led on to the discussion of politics. And there was a lot of opinions and a lot of varying opinions, I think is the polite way to put it for that. A lot of people had a lot of different ideas about you should do it this way, you should do it this way. My philosophy is, are you going to enjoy it? If you are, then just go off and you do it. You do that, and stuff like that. Because it was things like there isn't a senator there who will let someone shadow, because it'll be for them. It's like training up their replacement and stuff like that.
That is the furthest from the truth of anything I've seen yet comment about Dawn politics.
Yeah.
First of all, the core concept behind Dawn is that you want to be glorious, you want to be seen to compete, and you want to prove yourself. Any senator that shuts down someone learning the job means that they're denying themselves the opportunity to compete in an open format. I frequently have people shadowing me, learn how to do the job otherwise, and all of the other senators have done exactly the same. Unfortunately, what tends to happen is you frequently get someone who's going to be a really good senator or trained up and they die on the battlefield. That has happened to me twice now, maybe 3. This is a nation where a disproportionate amount of us take the battlefield. There's always casualties. It's exactly the same with our generals. Every one of our generals I know of has at least one adjutant, and usually a pool of 2 or more that are how to do the job. The idea being that in Dawn, it's more important to us to be competing in goods company, and the best way to do that is to train people to be good at the job.
Yeah.
Because if you're showing it, if you take it down, like with no contest, if no one challenges you, how are you proving you're good? You've just been handed a thing on a plate, which is much less satisfying, and I think from a role-playing point of view, substantially less satisfying OC unless you've actually had someone to kind of showboat against for both sides.
Yeah, I think when I was a general with my first character, I had like 5 people around me, because you get so much stuff coming your way that you then get to push it all out there. And it was essentially so that I could sit there and not do very much, and they had all the great fun, and I could sit there and have a drink around the fire and have a sing-song with people, because that's what I wanted to do at the time, and go off and have a scrap, of course. But we're getting a fair few questions come through now for you, which is good. So first one, we figured out the audio issue as well. That was my other half having the stream on half volume.
Okay.
Idiot. She has asked, what elements of the game do you enjoy the most?
Tough. I think probably the PvP element, and I want to clarify that first because there's several different aspects of it.
Yeah.
In my experience, most of the people who have been my greatest opposition or opponents or people I'm competing against are generally people I like OC. Because if they're good competition, they're people whose playstyle matches yours most closely. So I want to say Roz very much as the Empress, because everyone in the world knows that she and I went head-to-head over a huge number of subjects. She remains a person I have enormous amount of regard for and thoroughly enjoyed pretty much all of our interactions. And I think that's part of it. I think honestly held opinions that maybe at difference to mine or directly opposed or something like that, but the person has them, that they're entirely consistent internally to the character, that they're congruent for the brief for the game and congruent for the brief of their nation, are the best fun you'll ever have. Because you'll walk into that conversation and you will enjoy someone who's thought very hard about the subject, and so will you. And sometimes you'll walk out and your mind will be changed. Maybe they provided new information, maybe they were right, maybe you hadn't thought about something, whatever else otherwise. But you only get that if everyone cares.
Yeah.
If I walk in and say, no, we're not doing that, we're doing this, and someone doesn't give a shit, they might just go, okay, because they don't care. Whereas having that person who actually does give a shit means that you have a subject you enormously care about. Like, he put up a while ago, where I advocated that the best thing you can do for the game in terms of enjoying Empire as a whole is have a friend in another nation that cares about other things, because they in turn come to you and say, I need this, or I want help with it. And you have a whole world of another nation you wouldn't otherwise get, and all the things that they care about. And the Winds of War are very much written about your nation at your time. But sometimes plot doesn't drop heavily in your nation that event, so maybe you take it quietly. And then all of a sudden, hammering at the door because they desperately need things, and you have a whole other set of reasons to get out there, achieve something, and help somebody. And that's brilliant, because it means that it's perpetually, you've got that drive or that goal to hit the event running with.
Yeah. Just said, Iron Within. What's going on? I've just arrived. Hello, mate. We are sat down with Gray of Dawn. We're just sat down. We're chatting about Empire LARP. Different aspects of it. So you get any questions and stuff like that, then feel free to pop them down and we can go from there, mate. I like the PvP stuff to a point. Yeah. I'm shit at politics, basically. I can't do it. I'm good with information, and this is what Mac's an information broker, and he is very, very good at that. Because, I mean, obviously having Mac for 5 to 7 years and stuff, then I've picked up a lot of information, and I know of a lot of people in different positions. I find that when people come to me and it's like they're trying to work against someone, it's like, no, I know how this goes. They will talk their way out of it. I'll just get executed on the spot, because that's just the way it always goes for me in every single roleplay game, all across the board. I did one lot of Vampire LARP in Wales, and I got executed 3 times as 3 different characters, because that's how bad at politics I am. It's not the record either, so...
Have you considered hiring a PR consultant? Because that sounds like money well spent.
Well, yeah, I think I need it, to be honest. But Yeah, so I mean, I like to get involved in that sort of stuff, but we've had oh, what's their name? House Berenor is the new house that's coming into Dawn, and I think they are full of new players, and it's going to be all of their first event as well. So, but where was it? There was one question. It says, "What would be your advice to a new Dawnish player?"
Okay, this advice I'm going to break up into sections because it depends very much on the section of the game you want to do.
Yeah.
Some core advice, first of all, is have your character concept and what you enjoy down pat. Now, you don't have to how you approach the game, but think about what you find fun, and then look at every area of the game through that as a prism, and then retract it down to what you actually want to do. Yeah. So for someone who wants to go on a load of skirmishes, who wants to get in everyone else's business, who really cares very much about going out there and talking to a lot of people, could do much worse than a questing knight. A questing knight is a noble that has completed their test of metal and hasn't really settled down. They've kind of taken their show on the road and they're just going to keep going everywhere. So they're effectively a kind of a gun for hire, whether that's helping people with magic, swords, politics, whatever other kind of aspect they do. But they're generally a perpetual busybody. And what they can do would help somebody with something else they're doing. And they are fantastic fun to play. And they're also great fun as a kind of concept because you have a reason to go around all the different camps of the Empire and say, "How can I help you?" And that's a good start. If you want to be a politician for the Senate game, very simply, you can find me in the next game. I'll introduce myself. I'll talk to you about what's going on with Dawn in a political sense. And I'll give you a kind of a potted version. Obviously, that will be somewhat biased because I'll be looking at the things I know about. And I'll pass you on to the other two senators who will do the thing as well. Most senators tend to have an area that several ones that they care about. Like, for example, if you want to talk about the economics of the Empire, I am not the person to come and speak to on the grounds that I will have interests in parts that touch on it, but I don't build a huge number of buildings because I frankly don't care. I see. OC will understand it just fine, but my version of how it works is very much tailored that I don't spend the same amount of time looking at those things. Therefore, I'll point you to something better.
Yeah.
If you're involved in the Synod, there are a bunch of established troubadours in Dawn, and there's a National Assembly. I would heartily recommend speaking to them pretty much as soon as in. Again, they'll give you a potted version of what's going on with all the religious Dawn, but also they'll give you a bunch of people to start arguing with immediately. I mean, discussing. Let's not say arguing straight away, but there's almost certainly going to be. Troubadours in a room, there'll be 10 different points of view.
Yeah.
Equally, if you're playing an Earl, Enchanter, Enchantress, any version thereof, there's an Earl's Council meetings throughout the course of the weekend that they'll tell you an awful lot about what people are thinking about and what the nation's doing and where we're going. And each of those councils will get fed into by synod politicians, conclave politicians, and the senators and the generals as well. So we all have, and then we'll kind of feed that back. So I'd say there's almost certainly you can find, and I would suggest a few people of every different area of the game, and they'll probably take 10 or 15 minutes and tell you stuff. I'd also suggest read the last couple of years, if you can, and you're comfortable with that information load. Read the last kind of 2-3 seasons worth of Winds of War and Winds of Fortune. That will give you a fair grasp of what the nation's thinking about. Mostly here. It won't cover everything. Some stuff comes up that's touched on a year ago and then hasn't come back since and might pop up again at next event. So I can't tell you for definite it will, but it will give you the high points. It's effectively like reading the newspapers.
Yeah.
That's the way that you'll get the current event that airs and the stuff that's trending then and there, and you can pick through. Other things to say, more general than that, aside from specific areas of games, know what your house is, know what your house cares about, know what your house is known for, know how your tests of metal are formed, and what matters to them. For example, my house's main kind of boast is what we take, we hold. We have a very, very focused goal, and something belongs to us as we see it, and we'll fight tooth and nail into the very last not to give it up.
Yeah.
Our other kind of major focuses, we're very interested in politics and we're very interested in the military game. We don't tend to have anything to do with like kind of economics. Not our area. Most of our yield folks support the people who are involved in those other areas we get. So if it comes to an economic powerhouse, that will never be us. Other areas, like for example, are monster hunters. Every quest, every skirmish, every piece of plot that touches on monsters, they'll be there in the shop. House Orzel, all about martial fighting. Love it, that thing, that's what they do. They spend hours practicing the glory square. They teach people for fun. Anytime there's a big tourney or a contest against a monster, they'll be there in the shop. I could name like Descendras, massive house, very much about their military focus, but very much a battlefield focused kind of aspect of it. There's probably 10 more houses I could name, each with their own individual sticks or kind of things they're known for, but having your house almost have its own identity separate from the players is really important. So choose your heraldry well, I would say. Choose something you can comfortably wear, you'll enjoy the game, and it's quite distinctive.
Yeah. So when it comes to new players who are coming along to Dawn for the first time, and they haven't picked, they're not part of a house, they're not part of anything like that. What advice would you give to them then when it comes to joining a house or doing anything like that? Is it because something that we've said is go around to the houses and just chat to them and see what they want and then go on from there. But as someone in Dawn, what would you say?
I would suggest have your trajectory in mind. What do you want to end up as? Do you want to be a senator? Do you want to be an earl? Do you want to be a questing knight forever? Do you not want to take your testamental? Do you always want to be a perpetual yoke? Have an idea of what your long-term goal is, and then approach each of the different houses, how they can help you get there. And what's going to be glorious should be the kind of key component. So, for example, if you're going to be a questing knight, you should go around, ask people about testamental, and choose the one that you think will be the best tale at the end. So that whenever someone in the bar says, how did you become a noble? You want to be able to clamber up, put one foot on the table and say, this is the story. Or as my friend puts it, picture the scene. And then from there you launch into something that you're proud of and you're impressed by. And that I think is what Dawn's all about. What makes the good, better story is probably a good starter as a kind of short little thing.
Okay, that's good. I like that a lot. There we go. So because we've got Gigi. She is going to be a house bard, so she's looking forward to. I'm looking forward to hearing what she has to come up with and stuff. I think she said that she's already been writing some stuff, so I think it's going to be quite interesting.
Nearly everyone in Dawn has one eye on the troubadour that's with them. So if they're tired and they're run out and they're knackered and otherwise, and a troubadour's there taking it all down to make a glorious story, you find your ability to pick up your feet and go a little bit harder. Everything in Dawn, for the troubadours, for anyone who's not aware otherwise, is the priests of Dawn. But instead of tedious sermons, I was a lad, we did this, and all that kind of thumping pulpit, their way of teaching the virtues to Dawnish people and creating the story right is to tell stories or sing songs that are all about firing the blunt. So they teach you the virtues by good example. So many of the exemplars, there are kind of Dawnish stories focused around them as a way of parables almost and fables. It's that kind of idea. The morality kind of embedded in the story, so you learn a thing, but you're not bored by a tedious sermon while you're getting it.
Yeah. She's corrected me, a geyser, not a priest but a mage. So
Geysers are plays effectively as a means of instruction or to tell a thing, but generally work in rituals.
Yeah, it's mama, isn't it? I think that was the term as well.
Not many, as far as I'm aware, or there's not many, so I think it's kind of a niche where someone can carve their own way a good deal.
Yeah, I think we're getting a lot of lag at the moment in chat. I'm not too sure what's going on because I haven't got anything else running or anything like that. I don't think anyone else has got any issues. No lag at all. I am not too sure, Gigi. Maybe worth doing what was suggested earlier, but latency or something like that, and just see what happens there. But it should be, so I do apologise for that. So Rachel was asked a question. So for Dawn as a nation, who would you say Dawn gel the most with nation-wise, and who is the least that they gel with?
Oh God, the most is hard actually. There's kind of probably a triumvirate of nations that we gel with, in a kind of who we hang out with, who we drink with, who we kind of party with. And I'd say probably Highguard, the League, and to a degree, on the battlefield in Navarre definitely, though I'm not 100% certain who say. I know many of us have friends in Navarre, but that's hard to say. I think it's because they're all concept nations. Like almost everyone who's an ambition dedicant or an ambition priest, the vast majority of them are either in Dawn or the League, because we have that belief in personal excellence and achieving a goal. So gels with the least. I think in many ways it's probably Urizen, and I think it's because they're very stepped down, closed in, Aritz, poise, very similar ways to that. For Dawn, we're very performative about everything, for want of a better term. And therefore, if you're being very kind of tight in body language, very settled and very good, it makes us kind of go, well, yeah, what are you trying to say? What are you trying to communicate? Whereas up on your sleeve is maybe our easiest one. I'd say probably Urizen is the one that, it's not that we don't have friends there. I think Urizen cultural traditions or way they present themselves and things is probably at least kind of easily translated, I suppose, to Dawnish ways.
I suppose it's difficult to be friends as a nation with when they've only got 3 people in it. So, so I think, yeah.
I think probably the reason why League and Dawn blend so well is we love each other's fashions, for starters. Their colours are equally riotous as ours. They have the same level of ostentation and beauty and things worn just for fun and for the pleasure of it all. And they also tend to have a policy that is about driving themselves forward, personal ambition and desire to achieve. And that appeals to us. Admittedly, they're generally chasing some kind of success, whereas we're chasing glory. You can still get that someone's working very hard to achieve a thing or make themselves better or be the prince of the league or whatever way you want to phrase it. So it kind of gels quite well. There's an element of that with heroism and Wintermark, though the argument about what's heroism, what's glory seems to be kind of perpetual. It never seems to stop.
Yeah, I think that's the interesting one there, because I think the Steiner talk about heroism a lot, and I think for me, because Mac's now a Calavesi in Wintermark, so. And for me, it's very much, it's not heroism. My main goal here is the end result. That's what I'm focusing on here. I want to get from A to B, and I'm not stopping until I've got there. Whereas you want to go from A to B, but you want to do all of this funky heroic things and stuff in the middle. It's like, no, my main goal is to do that. That's it. So they're very different within the nations as well.
Glorious to us is all of the above. Glorious is more about the breadth of the undertaking, and the methodology by which you get from point A to point B is less. So someone, for example, wanted to achieve a terrible curse on the Rouge and did a really tricky, sneaky deal and screwed a Winter Eternal out of the thing and then used it on the Rouge. That would equally be glorious as someone who led an army and smashed them in. Because you've achieved your goal, and the very fact that you set yourself a goal that is incredibly difficult or hard to achieve or something that has a massive effect, that's what makes it glorious. If you set a goal that was like, I'm going to kill 3 Druids in the next battle, okay, dead easy, what are you going to do next?
Yeah.
And that, right, what are you going to do next? If it's the first time you've ever taken the battlefield, that's a worthy goal. If it's not, if you've been doing it for years, that's not really glorious, because you're not stretching yourself, you're not making yourself better, and you're not looking at something to show what you've become or how good you are.
Yeah, so I think for people in our sort of position where we've been fighting at Empire for years and years, and I will say we are very good at it. So the goal will now be, so I'm going to go into the battle and kill 3 land sharks.
For me, a glorious goal for me is go on the battlefield and rescue a bunch of people who wouldn't otherwise make it. Because that's a story for both of us. Killing the land shark's great. I've enjoyed it. It's been fun, but it is a thing that I've done once, and then once I've done it, it's not that interesting to do again. And also, there's a load of other people trying to kill land sharks as well. One of the things I think that probably I've enjoyed most over my time in Empire is rushing up on a bunch of Ocelot, charge, sort of counter-charging them to the side of the unit, rescuing a bunch of people who are on the floor, picking them up, dusting them down, saying you're ready to go again, and going again. And that's probably how I've met an awful lot of my friends over the years, Beaumont. It's happened to me too. We were rescued by Highguard on the last big battle we were on, because a spawn came out of nowhere and basically just curb stomped us. We were getting ourselves back up, but then Highguard ran probably about 200 yards at full tilt and completely swarmed over the top of them and then picked us back up. And it was like, thank you. But that's the kind of stuff, that's a good story. And then when people were asking me later on to talk about the battlefield, I didn't talk about what they'd done, because that's a story and you're part of it. But to not tell that side of the story when someone's done something impressive and you're there is not to give them the due that they deserve. And that's kind of what rolled in the glory of doing. Generally, tales of other people too.
Yeah, there's nothing I like more than watching especially new players who have like hung around they're in my unit and they want to go off and do something fantastic, because it's something I like to call I will actually say to people, I'm going to go off and do something stupid. And I love to do that, because I know that me doing something stupid is literally aiming to get through that line. And if I'm behind enemy lines, then I've succeeded in my mission. If people have followed me or are trying to fight to get to me, then they're going to do something cool, because more often than not, they are breaking a line. And that's that's the story they then to get to come back and tell. And that's I love hearing people's battle stories, especially when you get a new player. I had one, I think it was E3 last year, and it was a new player. He had literally followed me in. He stuck around with me, followed me behind enemy lines, and followed me all the way back through. And his story, I didn't even know he was there. I was a bit too focused and running like a lunatic. I mean, look at the size of me. I have to focus on running. I really have to concentrate on that shit. But he came to the fire after the battle, and he sat down with a drink, and I was just looking at him, I was like, who the hell are you? And he just goes, I did this, this, and this because of you. And I was like, what happened? And then he spent literally 20 minutes telling me everything that he did, like almost a blow by blow. And I was just like, that is so cool. That was so cool. And then he went off to do a skirmish and died. But it didn't matter because he had so much fun, and I was just it kind of makes it. I love to be. I don't think enough experienced players in the game push the newer players to do stuff like that. I mean, I know you do, and I know that there's a couple of orcs who do, and I know that more experienced Navari do. So like Justin Towsmer, Kit Stangram, and people like that. Everyone, they need to push people, I think, because get that story and come away from the game, you're buzzing.
I think so. I wouldn't say push, I'd say facilitate. The main reason being is that kind of, you almost want to know where people are at and what they want to do. Like, sometimes it was Battlefield Heroic. Some of the most heroic things I've ever seen was a character, a competitor, I'm almost certain, about, I don't know, 2, maybe 3 years ago. He wore a full set of flappy wizard robe, big sleeves, the whole thing, used a staff. Didn't, I think, as far as I'm aware, have a combat spell besides repel, but he's seen 3 of his house down. So he sprinted full tilt, past the orcs, getting hammered on the way in, ran down and just went bam, swift heal. And then shouted, Dawn, I am here. So he'd spotted one of our lot that was down on the ground, far from everyone else, and he relied on us to come and get it. So he ran in, restarted the person's bleed count, went down in his, and basically made damn sure when you were there. So when someone lays down the gauntlet like that, you charge. But that was one of the greatest acts of bravery I ever saw, and he didn't land a single blow on a single orc. He simply just did something impressive, and that's one example. Many other healers that have done something, that have sprinted through lines or lay down in a pile of corpses and healed a bunch of people around them, got them up and gone off again. It's that level of almost smarts and bravery rolled into one, makes Battlefield and makes the tales that I really want to hear. Whereas killed a bunch of okay, that was kind of fun, but it's not the same thing.
Yeah, no, that's I mean, I would have loved to have seen that. That would have been so much. That would have been really cool to see. I love those sorts of things. I think that a lot, like the healing side of the game, when a lot of people go into battles, they say, "Well, I'm just there to heal. I'm going to stand here and not do much." You must have seen healer blobs charge a line with nothing but like a dagger or something like that, because they can see things going so badly, and that has been epic. I've loved seeing that.
Grimnir's another good example. Don't go in the front lines. However, I know some Grimnir that how close they get to the front lines is a matter of debate. Again, not a combatant, as is the Grimnir's oath, they're healing. But when you have literally the Grimnir on the ground patching someone up while someone else is standing over them defending the shield, you don't get more of a matter of trust than that. If you're not swinging a weapon, you're not even looking at who's hitting you, you're relying on someone else to off you while you get someone else up off the ground. That's pretty damn brave.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I love that sort of stuff. Healers who are going to run in, like almost crawl through someone's legs to heal someone underneath everything, drag them back through. I've seen that too often when you look down and you just see someone moving backwards through your legs. It's like, I don't understand what's going on here, but I approve of this message. It's the it's those sorts of things, and I think it's great. Sorry, I think chat has gone on so much now. I think we've missed on a fair bit here. So, question from Coffee: is there any stigma to staying a questing night?
Questing night, no, but a questing night is different from a knight errant. Questing knight is someone who's completed their test of metal and has become a noble and then decided they will not put aside questing. You can do that for as long as you like, and no one can judge you otherwise. You have made nobility. There is no higher office unless you choose to take on another responsibility. Staying a knight errant, I tend to think of staying a knight errant as a larval stage. You're effectively putting yourself out the test. The issue of still being a knight errant, you're not doing anything wrong, but you've undertaken to do a test, so why aren't you doing the thing you said you would? That's kind of tied up in oaths and bonds and pledges. And if someone sets you a challenge that you can realistically complete, why aren't you completing it just so you can tell everyone how amazing you are and how well you do?
Yeah.
Do it for forever if you like. I see no reason not to spend the next 10 years of the game for as long as it runs as someone playing a questing knight and being known like a Gawain or a Lancelot or some great figure of legend that as soon as there's trouble, this chap or lady will turn up and help somebody. Fight wherever they go, and they end up known in all the nations and go on all the great skirmishes. Good on them. Well played. Make yourself useful, and I see no reason why not.
Yeah. And there was an issue last. I mean, I think it was like 5 questing knights who beat up someone in Wintermark and threatened to execute them. The person in Wintermark was unarmed as well. It's a little IC thing that happened, and and that wasn't very good. I couldn't find them after it all happened.
Why? I suppose I'm not going to comment on it without knowing more. But it depends. No. Very rude, and they had given them, challenged them in a duel or some kind of satisfaction. The person said, "No, I'm not." And you know what are you going to do about it? I must confess, it's not behaviour I generally would look at. Well, I see, but I suspect there's probably more to that tale than I would do otherwise.
This is a tale that is coming to find you in character, believe me. It really, really is, because you'll enjoy this one as well. But I think I already know the response that you'll give to it, and but we'll come to that one in a field, mate. Because I just want to see your response. Let's put it that way. It's going to be good. Right, so what else have we got here? We've got a few. Rachel's asked, what is the most Dornish moment you have witnessed?
Ooh.
And why is it a rolling retreat?
Rolling retreats are dead easy. I like them because they're easy. I think as long as you willing to people jog and smash things, they're great fun. I think probably the most Dornish moment I ever saw was it might have been Ellie as Paris, and her lover, who she didn't name for reasons, I think shot the line all by herself so that the intent was to die in the arms of her lover, even though the battlefield was retreating at the time. Now it all worked out well and people were back in Gotham, but in that kind of dedication to true love, no matter what it was going to cost, no matter whether they were trying to be quiet about it or otherwise, probably I think was it. Live your life like every day is your last, and everything should be done because it matters. True love should be the motivation of glory in many ways.
Yeah, I've heard a few people talking about I suppose romance within Dawn and true love and stuff like that, but it's nothing that I've really poked upon. I think I experienced it once, and that was someone who got I think possessed by someone else, and there was something going on there, and I didn't really understand it. So Mac did his thing and just went, "There's a pub over there, so I'll leave you to it," and left.
Yeah. Very Navari response to Dornish emotion, I understand.
Yeah. I mean, it would work even now, to be honest. But yeah, he was in the Navarre at the time. But I mean, I'm going to touch on the whole who would help who and stuff like that when it comes to nations. I think one of the things I like the most about Empire as a whole, is that it doesn't always boil down to the nations either.
No, it doesn't at all.
Because I can think of a few instances where I hate a nation. So, example, Mac will hate nation A over there, but he knows people X, Y, and Z over there who are in that nation. If he's in a battle and they're going, "Oh, that nation's getting stomped," Mac won't care. But then he sees his friends getting stomped. It'll be, well, we have to go and do something about it. So I like the fact that the national brief, essentially, in a way, can get it's maneuverable. I think is the best way to describe that.
Yes, absolutely good. That's kind of why I put that post up a while back, and I think it's kind of up on the PD wiki now. And I advocate enough for why I think people should have friends in other nations, because it gives you a level of personal connection completely out with the winds of war, the winds of fortune, and it gives you an insight into the game otherwise. Like David, who plays Reese, Navari, he has his moments, but you'll know him as well as I do too.
Oh yeah.
Been one of my friends, Icy, for an incredible length of time. And we've been through ridiculous skirmishes, dangerous battles, gone away to some of the player events, which are absolute carnage as well. And we always kind of rolled back at the end of it, almost rolling towards time out, sitting having a drink. And that's the kind of thing. So even if none of the other Navari were alive, none of other things happening, or anyone that was left that I had any connection with, I still go through fire to get the pin. And the same as for a whole host of other people in a variety of different nations. I just use it as an example. And that's, I think, one of the key components about Empire is there's so many cross-body groups, whether it be a Senate, Synod, skirmishes, anything else that gives you reasons and connections, to windows into other nations and reasons to care. And I think that's one of its core strengths, because it gives you a reason to go outside your nation, go outside your group, and go and encounter other people.
Yeah, yeah. I love it when it comes to doing stuff with other nations. I think I've never been picked up by other nations before because they generally leave me alone. I think that's just the vibe. I mean, Mac. I've had Mac described as Marmite by people. You either love him or you hate him, and he's just a twat. It's just the basics there. He is just a twat. But I think I can pick specific individuals who, if Mac saw someone going down, doesn't matter the nation, he would go running through hell and high water for them. Because everyone says, "Oh, that's loyalty. That's loyalty right there." And it's like, no. For me, that's wisdom. Because, go on.
And I think there's elements to it as well. There are people who I'll run like hell through the fire to rescue because they're my friends and I adore them and I'll do anything for them. There are people I'd run through the fire to rescue because they're, say, Sejanus, played by Luca, where I do it just so I can showboat it how I rescue them. And that's the level of engagement. Once you've got people that you have a strong connection with, for good or ill, whether they're your rivals, whether they're your friends or otherwise. Like, honestly, going to rescue Sejanus is, warms my little black heart. Because I could do that every day and I'm just so gracious about helping him up. Would make absolute bones about doing it with me as well. And that's the kind of thing. The personal connections are everything that makes Empire great.
Yeah, you've just lit up massively there. You are positively glowing. Iron Within has asked the question, what is the best and worst aspects of Dawn?
Best aspects, as I say, is it's very much a passion play. Everything's about the emotion, the feel, drive. Everything's worn on your sleeve. Everything's pushed all the time, and that really, I think, makes for a very satisfying and almost cathartic event. Worst thing about Dawn, I don't really know why I can answer this. I've loved the nation since I first read the book. I haven't at any point anything I don't like about it. I can cheerfully, hand on heart, say that I look around the nation and I genuinely like interacting with all of them. I can't think there's anyone that I really have to deal with that I don't like or don't rate or don't enjoy. And even the people whose characters I'm not particularly fond of, have good fun interacting with them because they're very much their own distinct thing, and I can see where the lines are. And because of the nature of the way Dawn, that everything's out in the open, I can almost see the buttons to push and they to me, which means even if I don't like someone, I know exactly where to poke to get a reaction.
Yeah.
It's quite brilliant. I suppose the thing I can possibly say that's bad in terms of it is I think sometimes the perception, and this is the perception, not the actuality, is that Dawn's all about fighting, and it's really not. It's all about achieving your goals. And those goals can be the best flower ranger in the world. That's fine, as long as you challenge the Summer Eternals to be the best flower ranger or otherwise. The arena doesn't matter. The commitment, the engagement, and the breadth of the goal is what matters. And anyone who thinks that being a combat character is more glorious than someone who goes to the Conclave and battles the Eternals in a battle of wits and wins isn't really understanding what the nation's about. It's just combat's a very easy way to codify a win or a loss. And why people think of it sometimes more, and it's also something that hundreds of people can watch at once. That doesn't make it any better or any more glorious, and that I think is not bad. It's not a bad aspect. I think it's an unfortunate perceptional thing because it's hard sometimes to see other people's successes unless there's 300 people right behind you when you charge and hit the land shark first. See what I mean? It's that level of how visible a success is, or how visible.
Yeah.
Not even an attempt is.
No. Yeah, I'd agree. I think Dawn is that one nation, well, for me, where I look at it, it's like I probably wouldn't ever play Dawn because I don't think my mentality as a player would fit in with Dawn. I don't think I work in Dawn.
Okay.
It's the same as High Guard, but I just don't like the High Guard brief for me personally. So, but I think I'd encourage everyone. It's to, if you don't know enough about a nation, then use that time in character to go to that nation and have a chat and ask around, because everyone in that nation, at the end of the day, we're all LARPers and we all love to talk about what we're doing, and we all love to talk about our hobby. We all love to talk about our game that we enjoy, an aspect of it, and stuff like that. So, Helen's asked a good one. What's the next nation you want to try, or is it Dawn forever?
No, it's not Dawn forever, very much so. My intent very much is that once I finish playing Dawnmont, I will probably take at least a bit of a break from Dawn. I think my hosts need the time to work out what they're doing next, and a few other people could probably do with their own chance to do what they want to do next without me in the background. And I very much feel that there's a good point to step out from the wings and let someone else do their own thing without any sense that they're being judged against a standard that was there before otherwise.
Yeah.
I think I probably have kind of three concepts in mind. League is Bravo, because it'll be fun, because I can basically roll around, get involved in the marketplace. I don't have to worry about politics. I don't have to do anything I don't want to do. I can wear large and outrageous costumes. I can charge off into fights. I can do whatever I please. And there is any sword scholar on the ground bit. I really love that brief. It's my favourite bit. I would say it's probably the bit that was in there most appealed to me, full stop.
Yeah.
And apart from that, maybe a Navari, archaeologist. I love the idea. I very much like the stuff about Terranel. And I love the idea of effectively almost playing Indiana Jones, the kind of Navari, where I'll kind of run past the monsters to get into the tomb to start grabbing the rubbings and the artifacts and things. Yeah. With plot and background stuff in the game that I find it enormously interesting. Those are probably, and it will depend who dies when I die, or what groups are recruiting when I go, because if I've got 5 mates, the things that I can do are different from if it's just me rolling around by myself in terms of what you play and what you go for.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that one. There are a few other nations that I definitely want to try. I mean, League is one of them. But I think I'd rather be like a chef or something, just hidden out the back to have all that shit on, and just so that people are just like, okay, yeah, you like that. I don't, because my first character, Cernanos and Mac, we are very out there, just really loud and very out there. So I'd rather play someone who just sat back for a while and just like stayed in around a fire and stuff like that, didn't get involved in much, just had his thing. And that appeals to me quite a lot.
Yeah.
But orcs, I think, are a big one.
I think not for me. I spent years at Maelstrom with the mask on, and I can't face wearing that. And that's the only reason. There's nothing else wrong with the brief. I just couldn't face wearing the mask all weekend. I do it when I'm monstering, and then it's just too clammy.
Yeah.
Level. And that's purely a kind of comfort level thing, and that's all it is. I can see plenty of good things I like about the brief. I just couldn't face the mask all weekend. They're braver than me.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the one thing, isn't it? You're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. As you said, archaeologist, that's amazing. I think, what was it? Gigi said, I feel like Dawn is another level of dedication and verve.
Well, it's dedication. I think it's the outward performance of the thing. I don't think you need to work any harder than you do in many other nations. I think you just tell people more or show people what you're doing. Like, I imagine there are probably hordes of people in every other nation that work just as hard as it is to be Dawnish. Yeah. But they're quieter about what they're achieving or they're doing otherwise, whereas for Dawnish people, telling the stories and sharing them is one of the key kind of aspects of the culture.
Yeah. So do you feel that there are players within all the nations then the players who will say, oh, I'm only going to stick with like League, High Guard, Dawn, and then there'll be players who will say, oh, I'm only going to stick with like Navarre and Wintermark and maybe the marches that I push?
Probably there are, but I think I'm seeing more mobility around the Empire now, amongst people dying and changing new characters than maybe it was. And I think part of it is that once you get to know, well, as an experienced player of the game, completely regardless of anything else, once you get to know other groups around the Empire, you start how you get a friendly in if that culture interests you at all. I think some people will stay in their nation because that's where all their mates are, and if they die, they'll respawn in that nation, and that's fine. That's whatever works for you. However, I think if you know 5 different groups and 5 different nations and you want to change, it's much less of a culture shock or much less of a kind of barrier, because you just walk up to that group, you know, I'd say, can I join? And then they go yes, and then they loan you a bunch of spare kit to get yourself sorted, and that reduces the costs as well. So another good aspect for why you should have friends of other nations. It's a great place to respawn into next, and a thing that you've almost looked over someone's shoulder about, and then all of a sudden front and centre you get to care about those issues.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think that's the great thing about that PD have made here, is that everyone... I can't think of any instances where I've looked at people and gone, well, they're a twat, I don't want to go over there, or anything like that. It's more of a case of you go along, you talk to people, and it's like you sit down, have a drink. It's like I've done it in, definitely in the marches. I love going to the marches because I can't remember any of their names out of character or in character, because Steve is terrible with names. But I can go into the bar and I can see a few people, and it's just like you point, and it's like you get a drink and you go and sit down and you talk as if and it's just so much fun. That's what I love about this game so much. Everyone is friendly and open.
You'll get it right, or Jack, you'll get it right 50% of the time. Call them Harry and call them Will, and you're giving yourself an 80% chance of success.
Yeah, like Wolfric.
Yeah.
Loads of them, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the good thing. One of the questions that we were touching upon earlier when it comes to politics, and I think there seems to be a lot of new players who are very interested in politics as a whole. So you got Dornish politics. So every nation has their own take on politics and how they do things differently.
Mm-hmm.
Empire as a whole, it's a fairly universal way. So what advice would you have for people who want to do politics, but not just on a national scale? They want to get involved in it and the Empire as a whole, that sort of scale.
The main routes in are the major bodies. So there's Conclave, which is non-national in terms of most of its scope. So any position in Conclave can be anyone from any nation. 12 of them from the same one forever. It depends how the building blocks go. There's Synod, again, all of the different cardinal positions and gatekeeper positions can be any nation at all. Then there's kind of Senate, where you are streamed by your nation, one territory represents one senator, and a few other positions that are elected, like Magus and Ninja as well, which all provide it. I think the major core component, I would say, is if you want to get in politics in the Empire, work out what stream, first of all. So Synod, Conclave, Senate, first of all. And thereafter, go and watch some sessions and work out if it's for you. I wouldn't build your game around it till you've had the chance to look at it. So design yourself as someone who's interested in a few areas. Go along and see which one gels with you. Military Council is equal. Military Council, there are some positions like War Mage and things like that, which could be any nation. But most of the generals' positions will be for each nation with their armies. But again, go and look at sessions. They've all very different ways of working. Senate is much more it's much more kind of rhetoric based, it's much more argument based, and it's quite quick fire. And an awful lot of the business of what makes the Senate worthwhile is done before the Senate session even enters. So if I've got a motion and I want to bring it to the floor of the Senate and I want to succeed, I'll have talked to 5-10 other people before I even bring it up on the floor of the Senate, because I want to get their input, and I almost want like an interview preparation panel. So if I've got a thing and I want it and I'm trying very hard to achieve it, I will ask all my mates, right, how would you shoot holes in this? And then I'll take their questions, go away and refine that to my original pitch. I'll also consult with the civil service if anyone relates to it, and that's the same thing. Always go to the civil service if you think a thing is what you desperately want to do, and get it in writing and find out what it is first of all and whether it can be done, because there's nothing worse than going to the floor of the Senate and putting a motion on the floor that isn't possible. You'll basically just shot your credibility in the foot, so do your research. Some of that can be done via the wiki, but I think PD are also excellent at answering your email. So if you don't even know where to look, if you want to do a thing and you want to know if it's possible, building a rune forge was a good example of that. I think the person that they wanted to build a rune forge went off and did loads and loads of work, spent tons of time investing in it and plot and otherwise. PD provided a facility and then there was a wind of fortune that came up and made it possible. But they did it because they've been engaging with a bunch of different aspects of plot to try and build towards it. You can do nearly anything in Empire. It's just if it's not something that's easily, readily available on a wiki, you'll just need to take time and work out.
Yeah.
Navy, for example, there were none at the start of the game, but kind of players lobbying, working very hard, and they built the Navy.
I think that's one of the big things I like to say to all of the new players is that you can do anything.
2 seconds before I go, I should have mentioned this as well. Imperial offices. The Imperial offices are a fantastic repository of IC information available in the field, and if you wander up to them, they will either steer you towards a kind of suitable politician to try and help you in one of the different aspects, or they'll give you an awful lot of data dump of information then and there, which I think you want from there. So that's an in-character resource. Even if you've not thought about it before, they can just literally wander in and talk to someone.
Yeah, or just walk around the field and ask for an adult. That happens a hell of a lot. I love hearing people shout, "I need an adult," and someone just walks over and says, "What do you need?" Because that's generally, I've discovered, a nice way for new players to ask for an experienced player. That's the way I read it. I avoid them. I walk away because then no one needs to hear what I've got to say in character. No one does. But I love that sort of feel to it as well. The fact that you get a new player who will walk in and they can just go up to anybody and talk, and that person 9 times out of 10 will listen. You will get the odd person who will just go, "No, piss off, not interested. I've got to go and do this."
There's a lot of structures within your nation that will help with that as well.
Yeah,
like I say, these earls or thanes councils, variants thereof, to be honest. I'm sure there's one for just like Steward's Council in the Marshal, Exarchs in the High Guard, Thorns in Navarre.
Yeah, you got Thorns Council, Vate's Council. Yeah, you got all of it.
Just by way of example, there's a whole bunch of ways. If you know it's something, they'll get other players who will then take you and introduce you to other people.
Yeah, massively. So before we draw it to a close, then, so what would you say has been your defining moment for yourself as a player at Empire? What's been the moment that stands out the most to you?
I think deciding to go for the throne. I think that's probably the defining moment for me, because that's the point in time when you decide you're committing yourself to something you can't back down from publicly. You're nailing your colours to your mast. You're saying, "This is what I'm going to be. This is where I'm going to go, and I'm going to give my everything until I die or I fail." And I think for me, the aspect of that is you immediately become a figure of public recognition. People want to know who you are. People walk up to you in a bar. People come and sit with you when you're eating food, and they start asking you questions rapid fire. And rightly so, because if you're going to be there for the throne, which is effectively in many ways the figurehead of the empire, you absolutely should be entitled to ask you all these questions.
Yeah.
They're absolutely entitled to know who you are, what you're doing, or why otherwise. And even if they aren't a person with a Senate vote themselves, they sure as hell should be lobbying their senator. If they hate you, telling the senator they don't want. If they love you, they should be telling their senator otherwise. But also, if they're in any one of those other bodies of kind of imperial government, they're going to have to work with you, and you have a level of oversight over their processes. If they're paying attention to their job, they should be wanting to know what you're going to do with that. So I think that's probably the defining moment when you, to a degree, stop being a player where everything is about you and start becoming almost a public figure. Where a lot about what you are is out there in the public arena. It's the equivalent of being a celebrity, well, not necessarily getting paid anymore. In the sense that everyone has an opinion on you for good or for ill.
Yeah. Ben asked, it was something he asked earlier, but I completely forgot about it all. This is something he brings up a lot. I thought I'd gauge your opinion on it, considering your standing in Dawn and all. He wants to make glory a virtue.
It has been a glory, has been a virtue in the past. People have had past life visions where it was. There have been spontaneous glory auras that have come up in power. That is very much a thing to be done via the Synod. At current virtues that are recognised by the Synod are the ones that are considered to be the ones most effectively in preparing your soul for travel to the labyrinth and preparing you for exemplarhood, paragonhood, etc. That isn't to say glory couldn't be brought in as a virtue, but like purity, like hatred, like all of these other kind of virtues, it has previously been ruled by a synod in the past that does not make you better. Yeah. If you want any of these religious matters, you need to be a priest, well, a troubadour, or something like that, and talking to other priests or troubadours to not get in trouble. If I was ranting about glory in the middle of the street and how it was the greatest virtue ever, I would literally be up on heresy charges in about 15 minutes flat, because I am not a priest and I am not talking to other priests. Yes. Priests have magical capability, if you will, or a very well-worn capability to discuss what is matters of politics amongst themselves with the idea of reaching a more virtuous, correct interpretation and then passing that doctrine along to people. If you are a person in the street and you are doing that, you are going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
Very. That's not to say you should do it, but just be aware that you are definitely taking the spicy option.
Oh yes, yeah. I think we've done a couple of chats on virtue, and this was discussed quite heavily. We had Ginny and a few others, and when it comes to the virtues, Ginny is the be all or end all in my mind. She knows so much, so yeah. I think it. But it became just do it. If you do it this way, you're here. But it's a very fine line to heresy over here. So,
I think why I would suggest, if it is something you desperately want to do in character, I would suggest doing it as a priest or a troubadour and approaching it. Is the people who most think about that game and will give you the best arguments are other priests, but there's a core component. Whereas running up to me in the street and talking to me about a virtue, I may or may not get engaged. I certainly probably won't remember half of the different technical heresies or a lot of the doctrine that's out there because it's not my main focus in the game, which means you will get a much more lukewarm response for the best will in the world because I probably don't know enough to argue you down.
Yeah.
Well, outside of the specific things I deal with, to be honest, whereas if you go and fight with another priest, you get a damn sight better argument and debate, so I would heartily recommend that as an approach just for that purpose, so you can enjoy it better.
Yeah, definitely. I'd agree with you there. Okay, so this is going to be the last question, so thanks everyone. So this is from Scott, and so if you do manage to become the throne, what would you like your epithet to be?
The Restorer, or something like that, because I think probably my key component of going on is I want to see all of the lost territories back to the nations. That's a kind of the first component of what I want to do there. And I count lost territories not just the ones that have been taken from us by war, but also the ones we've lost where we've had to give stuff up in treaties and things otherwise. That pisses me off, I see no end.
Yeah.
To hammer down upon the barbarians until everyone gets their home back is probably one of my key components of my campaign speech. You can read about it. I've got a piece coming out in the Oathlight for next season, another piece coming out in the Edge, and possibly some of the other IC publications as well. So you can read, and there have been things published in the past about what I think I see about a whole host of subjects.
Yeah.
And otherwise, I'll come in a bar and ask me questions.
Excellent.
Unless I'm desperately trying to eat and haven't eaten all day.
Yeah. That's another big thing. If someone sat down to eat, leave them to eat. More often than not.
They're willing to wait for you to chew 2 mouthfuls, then yes.
Or in my case, if you want to ask me anything, bring cider.
Fair.
It's great. So, excellent. So, thanks so much for coming on, Gray. I really appreciate it, mate. It's we seem to have been. I've been getting the odd thing popping up from Twitch saying I think Twitch is struggling at the moment. So I think that's caused a few issues, and my Streamlabs has been playing silly buggers now. So we had the tech issues straight from the start. So I've finished with because we've got a raffle coming up that we're going to do, because something that we try to do with this community is we love to do stuff for new players. So we do a lot of things like that. So what we're doing is we're going to get the raffle going, and any money we make from that, it's buying new kit. So a new player turns along, you'll be able to go, here's new kit, weapons, and a tent. bang, first event sorted. Give it all back at the end of the event, please, but it really helps everyone out.
Getting past some of the barriers for entry and allow people to feel a bit more integrated.
Yeah, so we really, really want to do stuff like that. So that's what we're doing at the moment. So, and everyone here is put loads of stuff to donated loads of stuff to get stuff done. So it's absolutely fantastic. So, yeah. So thanks everyone for watching. I do apologise to everyone if you've had technical issues or anything like that. I'm going to go through it all because this all gets recorded and then I upload it all to YouTube. So I'm going to see what I can do there. I'll actually have to do a little bit of editing by the looks of things on this one to get it sorted. But what we'll do, Gray, is if you're up for it, we'll get you back on again at some point, and then we can get it put out there a bit better and get more stuff going. Because I've been seeing the viewers level, because normally we do well, but it's been fluctuating so much. It's been all over the shop, so I don't know what's going on at the moment. So
look, so much for having me along. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you in the field and everyone else who's watching.
Definitely.
Next year.
Yeah, right. So I'll bring the stream to a close so they get the nice little mums need to know. No, we're going to do that one. We'll do that question next time, I think. So we'll get that sorted. But yeah, I'll be in Discord and that for a little while. So if you want to chat or anything, I'll be there. Okay.
Sure. And if anyone's got a question for me desperately that I want to know, they can ping it to me and I'll do my best to respond, even if it's on a kind of text format.
There we go. Gray is actually in the Discord, so yeah, if you've got anything you desperately need to know, I'd encourage it for the new players as well. Yeah, because when it comes to knowing anything about Dawn, Gray is the man. Okay, so thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you all on Wednesday.
Take care. See you now.
Bye bye.